very good morning to everyone. Well, this group really looks very nice and pretty, I shall say, so it's wonderful for me to be with you, all of you. My name is Armenak Minasyants, just in case if somebody still does not know it, but what I want to do there is first of all to welcome by thanking EU delegation for extended support for organizing and hosting for the 5th time the Armenia Model EU Conference, and also our colleagues at Ani Plaza Hotel for providing today the facility as well. We are really very grateful. And the Ambassador, Mr. Ambassador, we are very pleased that you are attending the event and joining us today. And before we just get started, I want to point out that Armenia Model EU Conference is one of our first sustainable projects for the young leaders from Armenia and all over the world. As many of you know, Armenia Model EU Conference is one of the labors of my love, flavors that I have in Armenia. It's a result of some hard work that every year we put alongside with EU delegation to make this event happen. Seeing the incredible contributions that young Armenian leaders were making all over Europe, we actually back in 2011 thought that let's bring them all together here in Yerevan, just giving them opportunities to shape also the ongoing policy in this country, to have their contribution in public life of this country. And so we are really excited about that. So we thank the EU delegation for allowing us to use the EU financial resources for these outstanding people who are present in this hall. I just gave a very long speech, I think, but so because as far as you already heard my speech, it doesn't make sense for me to give a whole another speech. I'm really here, honestly, more to listen and to learn. But I do want just to make a couple of remarks and comments at top of this cake and talk about the vision, the aim and mission of Armenia Model EU Conference. Armenia, you know, has historically been a country of people who participate in the lives of their communities and their societies. But furthermore, Armenians are ready to sacrifice. And it's one of the things that make us, I believe, truly a very unique nation in the world. There is a famous English writer, probably you heard about him, Lord George Byron, who traveled to Armenian island of San Lazarus in Venice, and wrote a very famous book. It was called Armenian Grammar and English. And the point that he made in preface of his book during the course of his travels was that made Armenia truly a unique country. It was historically a country of people who participate in the lives of their communities and their societies. That was a society of joiners and volunteers and people who wanted constantly to be involved in making their communities better. And if there was an injustice somewhere, they wanted to do something about it. And even today, you know, almost all the progress that Armenia has made in expanding freedom and democracy has gone as a result of the bottom-up active participation of our citizens. The civil rights movements, such as the Electric Yerevan, or the women's rights movements, or the environmental movements, stand as a milestone in democracy promotion in Armenia. So many of these things, of course, arose because ordinary citizens like you started to get together and speak out and press their demands on the government. And eventually, you know, it worked. Politicians responded. And I got my start, you know, in public life, not as an elected or experienced project organizer, but as a community organizer in a very poor district of Yerevan. And I would work with universities and student groups to try to improve the educational system, just trying to bring something new to our universities and also to bring maybe some higher scholarships. And honestly said, you know, I just want to say that it was not like always completely successful. Our campaigns were not successful at all, I shall say. But it taught me the importance of the voices of ordinary people. Then they come together to create a better vision for the future of Armenia. And that's why I think civil society and young people are so important in Armenia. And that's why I have emphasized it in this speech today. And this is something that I emphasize wherever I go. It can be US, it can be Brussels, it can be wherever you go. Democracy does not stop on election day with going to electoral posts and just making a note there. For real democracy to work, it requires that people like you continue to participate And there have to be laws at place to protect the space and facilitate young people's engagement in the civic life in this country. Because Armenia is, a relatively young democracy, there is always a concern that we can slip back, despite that the Constitution says. And I just want to say part of the reason why it's important for me to be here today and to send a message to you all, that in Asia Yerevan, at least we believe that civil society is important, and we want to continue to affirm it, and we want to listen, hear what is that ordinary students like you, working together, have to say about our community and about your life. And if Armenia continued to promote these traditions of participation, as it was described by Byron, the values of active citizenship, freedom of expression, which are truly European values, then the country is going to be better off. And it's going to continue to make progress for all the people and not just for some of them here. And increasingly, youth in Armenia is a source of ideas, I shall say. You can bring ideas about everything, from promoting transparency and free expression to fighting inequality and rescuing our environment. And that's why, as a part of Armenia Model EU Conference platform, we have joined with the people around the world to push back on those who deny your right to be heard. I have made a mission of my team, and generally every year we make a mission in our team, like we have a team meetings where we discuss many things as always, but it's our safe mission, and it's my personal belief that every member of our organizational team should engage with broad groups of youth and students in Armenia. It is not only about engaging, but it's also about partnering with each of you and empowering the young people in this country with the knowledge and technology, with the resources, why not, also to make a change here. And the Armenia Model EU project, as it was already suggested by Mary, in particular supports the efforts of the European Union to establish a permanent, meaningful role of civil societies in Armenia and other Eastern Partnership countries. Today, we all are here because we believe that your work is more important than ever. Here in the Eastern Partnership region, inequality still closes too many doors for too many people. It closes doors in economies. Discrimination still locks many out of our societies. Around the Eastern Partnership region, there are still too many places where laws are passed to confront the civil society. Their governments cut off funding for the youth groups that they do not agree with, where entrepreneurs are crushed under corruption and oligopoly, where activists and journalists are locked up on fake charges because they want to be and dare to be critical towards the government. And when all this happens, we believe that the young people and each of you have a moral obligation at least to speak out and to voice out. We also know that our engagement with the civil society and students is not just about for what we are against, but also what we are for. Because we have noticed that government in this country and in other Eastern Partnership countries is much more responsive and effective when people speak out, then they represent their mind and they represent their views on ongoing policies. This is a good mechanism for us also to hold our governments much more accountable. When the efforts, are made to wall you off on the world, it mostly goes for the Armenian students particularly. Our conference and generally the European project in this country try to connect you with the others. When you are silenced, this project and this platform will try to speak with you along. And when you are suppressed, Armenia Model EU platform wants to help you to strengthen. As you work for change, the Armenia Model EU project will stand up alongside you every step on your way. But what it does mean, mostly for me, we do have to be very clear that when we speak on our behalf or on behalf of somebody, we are not doing it because it serves our own interests. We are doing it because we think it's the right thing to do and to be done. And that's important as the mission of this project. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and God bless you all.